Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you are interested in today's video. The Biden administration that just took office quickly signed the Chip and Technology Act. This bill approved a huge investment of more than $200 billion to reinvigorate chip research and development and production in the United States. Biden has further strengthened the technological blockade and embargo against China. He not only banned the Dutch ASML company from exporting the most advanced EUV lithography machines to China, but also called Japan, South Korea, and other countries to form a chip quartet alliance to cut off China's access to advanced chip manufacturing equipment. It also put China's major chip makers on the Entity List, severely restricting them from buying any U.S. technology. A series of measures by Biden have shown his vigilance against China's rise and his will to contain it. During his administration, the competition and confrontation between China and the United States around chip technology will continue to escalate and even evolve into a life-and-death battle. China cut off the supply of gallium and germanium, and Europe and the United States reacted strongly. Facing the technological suppression and blockade of the United States, China has also launched a counterattack. In July 2022, China's Ministry of Commerce and the General Administration of Customs jointly issued the announcement on the implementation of export controls on gallium and germanium-related items, implementing export controls on rare earth minerals such as gallium and germanium. As the key raw materials for chip manufacturing, gallium and germanium are crucial to the technology industry of various countries. China has an absolute advantage in the global production of gallium and germanium. Once the supply is cut off, the high-tech industries of the United States, Europe and other countries will be devastated. The EU is China's largest customer of gallium and germanium, and nearly 70% of gallium raw materials are imported. Once China implements export controls, the EU technology industry will bear the brunt. Indeed, the European Commission recently organized an internal seminar urgently, which found that the EU was stretched short on gallium and germanium reserves. Except for a small amount of inventory in Germany, the reserves of gallium and germanium in most countries are less than 2 months. At the same time, South Korean officials urgently stated that their gallium and germanium inventories can support demand for 1 to 2 months at most. The Japanese side directly warned that if China cuts off the supply, all of Japan's high-tech industries will be paralyzed. In the Netherlands, as the world's most important semiconductor equipment production base, the price of gallium germanium is soaring by a few percent every day. According to statistics from the Netherlands, the price of gallium and germanium has risen by more than 40% since August and is still rising. Freiburg Composites, located in Germany, also urgently stated that their existing gallium germanium inventory is only enough to meet the demand for about 1 month. Once China completely cuts off supply, they will almost immediately close down. It can be said that China's move directly disrupted the layout of the chip industry in European and American countries. American and European companies, which were full and had nothing to do, will immediately face the crisis of breaking the production chain. The gallium and germanium raw materials mastered by China have shown a strong containment effect. For a while, the Biden administration also panicked. In order to appease his allies, Biden had to publicly announce that he would work with the Ministry of Commerce and related companies to study and solve the problem of gallium and germanium supply. However, because China now controls more than 90% of the global production of gallium and germanium, the United States alone obviously has nothing to do. In desperation, Biden can only promise to European countries to find a way as soon as possible. Biden's picking up waste cannot solve the fundamental problem. Faced with China's sudden gallium-germanium supply cutoff, in desperation, the Biden administration came up with a seemingly feasible solution, which is to extract gallium-germanium from waste. The so-called waste mainly includes two categories. The first is the waste in the chip manufacturing process, and a certain amount of gallium-germanium remains in the waste. The second is scrapped equipment containing gallium and germanium, and these equipment will also have a small amount of residue before they are scrapped. In theory, if all these waste materials and equipment are collected and re-refined, a certain amount of gallium-germanium source can also be recovered. As a result, the Biden administration announced that it will use the special powers in the National Defense Production Act to launch a nationwide waste extraction operation, hoping to obtain enough gallium and germanium supplies from it to avoid complete dependence on China. It has to be said that this method of waste extraction can be called helpless under emergency conditions. It can temporarily alleviate the urgent demand for gallium and germanium in various countries, but it is far from fundamentally solving the scarcity problem of gallium and germanium. Such waste extraction yields only a limited source of gallium-germanium. Adding up all the waste in the United States for a year, the extracted gallium and germanium can only meet the market demand for a few months. The Biden administration's move is like an emergency antipyretic, which relieves symptoms but cannot cure them. Waste extraction cannot rebuild the complete gallium-germanium supply chain. The United States still needs to build a gallium-germanium mining and refining system from scratch, and then manufacture raw materials to truly meet the needs of the industry, which will take up to 10 years. China can also stop this waste extraction method at any time. If China further expands the scope of gallium and germanium supply cutoffs and bans the export of scrap, Biden's contingency plan will also fail. It can be said that the Biden administration's waste extraction plan is completely unable to fundamentally solve the problem of dependence on China. It is nothing more than a drop in the bucket, temporarily fooling allies. The only way out is to cancel the restrictions on China's technology, re-cooperate with China, and share gallium and germanium resources. However, Biden's arrogance and tough attitude towards China doomed him not to choose the route of cooperation. This Sino-US technology war will continue to evolve. Let China wait and see.